Honestly, some lessons cost more than money. I'm Walter Finch. For 35 years, I kept the books at Clayton Manufacturing. Then they retired me early for cost savings. That saving triggered a multi-million-dollar IRS penalty and a shareholder lawsuit. Now, the board is on my doorstep. It started, I suppose, with a 2-cent variance. My third year at Clayton, 1968. I was just a junior bookkeeper then. I was reconciling the month-end ledger, and the coffee in my chipped mug was getting cold. The numbers for a supplier payment were off by 2 cents. Just 2 cents. Anyone else would have written it off to rounding. But I tracked it. It took me 3 days, but I found it. A decimal point error in a 5-figure invoice. Saved the company $10,000 that year. That was the job, you see. It wasn't about the grand gestures. It was about the 2 cents. For 35 years, my value was in the quiet vigilance, in the numbers that added up exactly. I wasn't a visionary. I was the foundation. And for a long time, that was enough. My wife, Clara, she understood that balance. She was a librarian. She used to say, "Walter, you measure your worth on their ledger every day, but you must measure it outside their ledger too. In the garden you tend, the books we read, the life we build." She had a way of making the intangible feel solid, of making a quiet evening feel like a fortune. Then Robert Vance arrived, the new CFO, 48 years old, with a suit that cost more than my first car. He called an all-department meeting. He stood where I used to give the quarterly reports. He talked about digital transformation, about lean methodologies, about the future. He never looked at me, not once, but I felt the temperature in the room drop. My methods, my ledgers, my 2-cent hunts, they were now tribal knowledge, a legacy drag on efficiency. The efficiency review meeting was in his glass-walled office. My hands were steady, but my heart wasn't. He had a spreadsheet on a large screen. My salary, my benefits, projected over the next decade. Next to it, the cost of a new software suite and a junior analyst. Here's what I've learned about men like Vance. They see people as line items. He slid a document across the desk, a voluntary early retirement package. He said it was a generous acknowledgement of my service. His tone was so polite, so final. The truth is, he was erasing a line item. Clearing out my desk was a silent, hollow ritual. The feel of the old adding machine's keys under my thumbs, cold, metal, familiar. The smell of dust and old paper from files I'd kept for 15 years, just in case. I put the adding machine in the box. I didn't need it, but I couldn't leave it for them to throw away. It was the first artifact of a world that no longer existed. The first months of retirement had a piece to them I'd forgotten. I'd have my breakfast at 8, not 6. I'd read the whole newspaper. I planted tomatoes. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of my own thoughts, not the company's anxieties. I missed the work, the puzzle of it, but I didn't miss the feeling of being an appendix in my own story. I was measuring my worth on Clara's ledger, and it was sufficient. Then the phone rang. It was a Saturday morning. The chairman of the board, Edward Carson. His voice was thin, stretched tight with a panic he was trying desperately to smother. "Walter," he said, "we have a situation, a critical one. The new system. There's been an error, a tax filing. The IRS is assessing a penalty. It's substantial. The shareholders are filing suit. We need you to come back, just as a consultant, to fix it, to explain it. Name your terms. I was quiet for a long moment. I looked at Clara's photo on the mantel. I thought about 35 years of 2-cent variances. I thought about being a line item. Here's the part that haunts me. I felt no satisfaction, just a deep, weary clarity. I named my terms the next day, in the same boardroom. My consulting fee was 5 times my former hourly rate. I saw Vance flinch. The chairman didn't even blink. He just said, "Yes, of course, whatever you need." I worked for 3 months, 70-hour weeks. I untangled the automated error, negotiated with the IRS, and provided the testimony that settled the lawsuit. I was the archaeologist of my own abandoned craft. The fee they paid me was a number with more zeros than I'd ever attached to my own labor. It sat in the bank account. It felt heavy, cold. It was compensation, but it wasn't value. So I went to the community college, the one where Clara had volunteered for 20 years, helping adults learn to read. I met with the foundation director. We established the Clara Finch Memorial Scholarship for continuing education. For the single parent, the late-in-life learner, the one looking for a second chapter. The director shook my hand, her eyes a little bright. She asked me if I wanted to say a few words at the announcement. I didn't, but I stood at the back of the room as they made the announcement. They said the scholarship was made possible by a generous gift honoring a lifelong advocate for learning. And I felt it. The balance. Not on their ledger, but on ours. Clara's and mine. The final entry. The true balance sheet of a life isn't measured in assets or liabilities. It's measured in what you tended, and what you left untouched, and the errors you caught, and the kindnesses you planted. They retired a bookkeeper, but they had to rehire a man who finally understood the bottom line.
Here's what I've learned. Data can be automated, but knowledge, that deep, quiet understanding, comes only with time. It's the 2-cent variance that saves a fortune. If you're feeling pushed aside, undervalued for your experience, remember this. Your true worth is a balance sheet only you can finalize. Measure it in the kindnesses you plant, the integrity you keep. There is hope in knowing that self-respect is a currency that never devalues. If this story resonated with you, I'd recommend 2 books. First, The Soul of Money by Lynne. It explores how we can transform our relationship with wealth and value. And Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, a powerful testament to finding purpose in all circumstances. You'll find the links in the description below. Thank you for listening. If this meant something to you, consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Take care of yourselves